our youth internship New York trip in combination with their end of summer humanities projects. So, the Root and the Bloom was founded in 2015 by myself and Callison Stratton. We are a humanities organization committed to bringing educational and humanist programming to the Butte community. We formed in response to the for the proposals to revitalize the Clark Chateau under the umbrella of the archives. Yeah. Recently, Christine Martin, who you'll see later, has taken over Ms. Stratton's position as managing director and board treasurer, and Colin Cote has joined us as the intern coordinator. We maintain the Clark Chateau as a historical attraction and presence, making it available for tours, presentations, exhibits, rentals, and community fundraising events. And a really nice fact is that we are in the black. We are making money. So combined with that, we are currently funded by grants, donations, and event ticket prices. Our focus is on educational and community outreach with a particular emphasis on youth. We work collaboratively with the local teams, creating tangible projects that are shared publicly either by way of performance, publishing, or through media channels. Yeah. As well, we work in unison with other civic and arts organizations sharing ideas, events, and resources. So in that spirit, we have, in the past 3 years, collaborated with the Montana Standard, the Butte Archives, the Imagine Butte Resource Center, the Butte Symphony, the Orphan Girl Theater, KBMF radio station, St. James Hospital, the Maywa Museum, the Caring Fund Aid through St. Mary's, Safe Space, the BSB Board of Health, the Jacob Wheeler Foundation, the Butte Library, TASK, which stands for Teens Advocating for a Safer Community, the Cote Lake Film Festival, Bozeman Paranormal, Butte Halloween, and we even did a collaboration with the theater in Missoula called Between the Lines. Our youth mission emphasizes the importance of literacy, community engagement, leadership, mental health, and creative collaboration. And our programming and events aim to include both adults and youth, creating opportunities for intergenerational cross-pollination and organic mentorship. For those of you who don't know, I'm a playwright and I'm a professor of theater. I teach in Chicago every fall, and I have learned through many years of teaching that there's mentoring down, of course, that elders, of course, mentor youth, but it's also important youth mentor adults as well, so that mentoring up also happens, and we're very focused on that at the Chateau. So we've received grants from the Montana Arts Council, from SARTA, from Humanities Montana. Our fundraisers every year, please come if you haven't, people love them. We do some really unusual themes. We had the spirituality of food and wine. We had the Drink of the Wise, the history of tea near and far. And just this summer we had a Midsummer Night Symphony where we collaborated with the symphony and had some wonderful dishes created by local chefs. One of them was in the room back here. So I also, being a playwright, I created the Ballroom Players, which is a group of actors and playwrights, and we're doing a lot of new play development and new play readings and classic play readings. So come. This is also just a pitch. You can all check out our Facebook page, and you'll have an idea of everything we're doing and when. We've expanded. In the 3 years, we've mostly been dealing with high school, but this year is the first year that we've expanded to the littles, so to speak. And we had our first music camp, which was 1 through 3, right?
Yeah, kindergarten
through third. And we are starting an art camp for K through 6. We have a new workshop space in the Chateau. And we have also been able to give some youth scholarships for music, and we're creating a new scholarship for this year. So, and upcoming programs, we're going to be working with some local therapists for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and the Board of Health, and we're going to be doing a play reading on September 8th and 9th, so come to that. There'll be a talk back. And also Band Book Awareness Week, which is Saturday, the 29th of September, which will also be in collaboration with a brown bag presentation. So I think I've talked a little too long. I'm going to pass it on to my cohort, Christine. Oh, and I didn't push this, did I? Oh, I'm going to give you, this is us doing our thing. That was, we gave a commission to Tom to write a piece of music. That's tango. Okay.
Ooh, that's
Hi everyone, so I'm Christine. As Carson said, I'm the curator at the Clark Chateau. I'm also the director of the Blue Man Treasurer. So I'm mostly going to talk to you a little bit about this trip that we were able to take our interns on today. We did a lot of fundraising over the last year for this, so we have a lot of thanks to give. We worked really closely with Task through the high school, to teams advocating for safer communities, and we threw a big haunted house at the Chateau for 3 days, and it was really great for us, and also it was the biggest fundraiser Task had ever had. It was their most successful fundraiser. So that was really great. We held a couple of small student-run fundraisers with open mic nights, a bake sale, a movie night. We collaborated a lot with Northwestern Energy. They did a volunteer day at the Chateau. They have a really great volunteer program where they will actually pay for their employees to come volunteer in the community, and then they donate a portion of money based on how many of their employees come and volunteer that day. So we did that with them twice. We had a series of private donations that were very helpful. A chunk of the proceeds from A Midsummer Night's Symphony this year went towards funding this part of our youth program this year. And then also we had a very generous donation that was linked to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for this. So in support of our youth program. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna try and keep it brief, because I've talked about this trip before and it's been like 40 minutes, and I'm gonna try and keep it more like 10. So if you get confused, please stop me and I'll explain what something is, but I've got kind of a lot of slides, so I'm gonna try and hustle. So we went for 10 days. We flew out of Bozeman. And the flight attendant was really lovely, and she took this amazing sunrise picture at 6 in the morning of our flight. So we got up and left at 6 in the morning. We flew through Chicago, which I don't know if you've ever been to the Chicago airport, but it's got this wonderful section where, I don't know, like the moving walkways, but all of this, imagine, is just like playing music and changing with the colors like constantly. It's a really cool public art installation. So we flew through Chicago, and everybody was really tired and delirious. And then Noid hit me for making the pose. And then we finally got to where we were staying. So we were really lucky that, part of the reason this trip happened was my predecessor, Callison, actually grew up in Manhattan and had moved back home to Brooklyn to be close to family, but to also take a position working in a museum, which you'll see later. So she was able to arrange for us to stay, instead of in a hotel, in an empty apartment in the Turner Towers, which is in Brooklyn. And just to set it up for you, here are the Turner Towers, and then right across the street is the Brooklyn Museum and the Botanical Gardens. So it's very ideally located for this trip. There's a subway stop pretty much right out the front door. We were very fortunate in our accommodations. So here's us on our first day, and I have to say, we all look a little dewy because it was probably 98 or 100 degrees most of the time, hoofing it around the city. So the first day we went to the Botanical Gardens, which are wonderful. They've got these big glass buildings. They also have, this is part of the Japanese portion of the Botanical Gardens, so they have these pagodas and a lot of koi. Got some of our students enjoying the sights. And here you can see some more. was kind of day one, and it was so hot that we didn't really do too much else that day. We kind of, and everybody was a little jet lagged still, I think. The second day we were there was actually the 4th of July. So we chose to do something really fun, and this photo kind of conveys it, but we went to Coney Island for the 4th of July. It seemed appropriate, and this is in the morning, and by the afternoon, this probably was filled also with people. There's probably, I was talking to someone about it, and I think within that area of Coney Island neighborhood with like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, there's probably, close to 1 million people like right there for the 4th. So it was a real New York experience for everybody. But they all rode roller coasters. We had a less educational day one day. The next day we went to the Museum of the Chinese Immigrant, which was really fascinating. They talked a lot about the history of the Chinese people as they've immigrated, and I actually found this. This is from Butte-Silver Bow.
Wow.
Butte Sailors Union refusing to hire immigrants, scab workers. They had a couple of pieces actually from Butte-Silver Bow. We have a few notices. I did send some copies to Ellen, so she just had them. Our next stop that day, we went to the Museum at Eldridge Street, which is where Callison comes back in. Callison works at the Museum of Eldridge Street, which is also a synagogue, and it's a beautiful building. So we talked about the plight of the Chinese immigrant, and then we talked about the Jewish diaspora in Russia with Callison. And this is the interior of the synagogue. It was fell into great disrepair, kind of like the chateau, but maybe a little bit more extreme. And then a lot of grants and fundraising was done, and it was restored. And it is the oldest, has the distinction of being the oldest synagogue in New York. And here's everybody at the synagogue. Also extremely hot that day. But I love this, they went with a more modern stained glass window when they had to replace that. The original glass was gone. But all of this is restored. We walked around the city. We pretty much rode the subway everywhere and then walked. So we got to see a lot of really interesting street art, which really lends to everybody's experience. There's a lot of public murals. Here's a mural we walked through, did a walking tour of Chinatown, and we walked past this mural. And then our next stop was we went to Lower Manhattan. So this is the new World Trade Center building. And then what is important to note, our next stop was the Irish Hunger Memorial, which is a beautiful memorial. It's basically a little piece of Ireland right in Lower Manhattan. So you can see part of it here. And they've imported all of these grasses and plants from Ireland and planted it here. So you look and you see Manhattan, and then you turn around and it looks like Ireland. And they've actually transplanted a cottage. And this was a really, it's a beautiful place, but it's also very, it is a memorial to hunger. So it's also very sad. But we talked about a lot about the contrast between this and here. And then on the other side, you used to be able to see the Statue of Liberty. But some stuff's been built on since. We drove, so that was kind of our third day in the city. And then we traveled to upstate New York at this point. We spent the weekend at a cabin in upstate, got a little break from the city of walking quite so much to work on projects. But this, you drive out of the city and you go across these bridges and then do these bridges. And so that's kind of our journey. We all stayed in a cabin in the woods. We actually weren't that far from where Woodstock took place. But yeah, everybody posing for me so nicely. And they all ran around, we made flower crowns, and we picked blueberries and worked on our projects that you guys we're going to talk about here in a little bit. We did a lot of prep work. We had done a lot of prep work before, and then we worked on projects, and then we came back and finished them. But we did take an improv class while we were there in Narrowsburg. And it was a mixed class. These guys were with adult students as well. And it was a really good improv workshop that we did. We were finishing up, and then this was on Sunday, and then we headed back into the city again. And so our first day back, that Monday, we went to the Natural History Museum. So the next 2 days of our trip, really, we went to the Natural History Museum and to the Met. And if you've ever been to either one of those museums, they're so huge. You know, I want to say the Natural History Museum has 28 halls. You can't really get through it in a day, so we just designated those 2 days just for those 2 things. And you kind of had to strategize and just decide what was important and like run and go see as much as you could, because you can't see everything. So we went to the Natural History Museum. This is a life-size replica of a blue whale, just hanging from the ceiling. And then all around it are exhibits talking about the Arctic and sea life. It's the ocean. It's one of the ocean halls. Just to give you an idea of the scale of everything. Here's everybody in front of a really cool woolly mammoth, which is great because I know from relatives, in-laws I have around here, you can find woolly mammoth teeth sometimes in Montana. And then the very next day we went to the Met. And the Met is the same way. You cannot get through the Met in a day. I made everybody stand in front like tourists. It was fine. So it also has many halls. Like they actually give you a suggested route so you can see as much as possible if you don't have time to come back a second day. We tried to kind of do that. They've got, I really wanted to go to this museum. You know, the choice between the Met and the Guggenheim and the Museum of Modern Art. And they have such a great complete art and history survey at the Met. It's just really, really a wonderful place to go, especially with students. We got to see a lot of Eastern art. And then also, you know, the Met Gala happens every year where they collaborate. It's a little more of a modern collaboration where they invite fashion designers, contemporary fashion designers to create, you know, outfits based on something that's going on in the museum. So this last year it was called Heavenly Bodies, and it was all very much based on medieval Catholicism. So they were pulling all of these references from these old triptychs and working them into outfits. And so they were these really old pieces from like the 1500s, the 1400s, the 1600s, and then mixed in were these displays throughout the medieval section of the building. And of course, you know, we saw some really famous work. This is the Irises by Van Gogh. You know, there's a whole room. There was like a whole wall of Rembrandts. You know, it was a really fun place to spend an entire day with the students. And then this was at the Brooklyn Museum right across the street. So our last day, since it was so convenient, we went 2 places. We went to the Brooklyn Museum. And the Brooklyn Museum is actually changing their mission this last couple of years. They are curating their whole first floor, talks about water and the color blue, and it's really focused on art, also art by women right now. So this is part of a whole exhibit that is about South American female artists. That was really great to bring. We didn't plan it this way, but we did only take female students to New York City. We had a couple of male interns that dropped out. But we felt it was really important to experience this more contemporary exhibit that was really led by women. This is a little bit of the interior of the Brooklyn Museum. This is one of our subway rides. You can kind of see the green behind. And the city is just covered. It's either really modern, like Lower Manhattan, which you saw, or it looks like this. We went to the Seaport Museum, which is really great. And we went in this building that's kind of here, which is a museum for printing, and they have a Washington press. So this printing press was built 800 yards up the street, moved to this location in the mid-1800s, and has never moved again, which is actually extremely unusual. And this gentleman was the master printer, and he gave our students a tour, and we'll show you how they used to print. This is on the New York Times. This would have been part of one of the big reel systems. And so you gave them a talk, and they have a collection of 36 printing presses in this museum. Wow. And we stopped here on our way. Also, this is the original lighthouse in the Seaport District. It's all since been built out on top of landfill and then paved. But this is a lighthouse, and it's also the memorial to the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
So it would have been, the port where the Titanic would have come in. So they made this a memorial to the Titanic. And so we wanted to do something really fun for our last evening. So what we did, you could do the ferry ride, but since we're going to the Seaport Museum, we took the sail. We went on a sailboat from the 1850s. You got to volunteer if you wanted and work on the rigging, and hoist sails and secure lines with the crew if you wanted. They didn't make you if you didn't want to. And then we sailed right past the Statue of Liberty, which is a really great way to spend the night. And then this is looking back at the city from the boat. And then the sailboat would have been kind of similar to that one in the corner. And you can see the Freedom Tower. There's a great, and then, so you see this here, I want to say right in here would have been where the Irish Hunger Memorial was. And then here we are sailing back into the city and past the Brooklyn Bridge at night. Which is a really nice way to kind of say goodbye to the city with everybody. And then we packed up and left, and this is the outside of the apartment building across from the museum that we stayed in. And yeah, and that was our trip. I feel we had a really good time with everybody. I feel like our students learned a lot. I'm actually gonna, unless anybody has any questions about that specific part, I'm gonna let Colin, Cote, he's our intern coordinator, and he led a lot of workshops this summer, so I'm gonna let him talk about the next phase of our program.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Colin Cote, and I've had the privilege of being an intern coordinator for this brilliant group of young people this summer. And it's been a real privilege. And I want to leave the floor for these guys to come up and talk, because in a minute here, these guys are each going to come up and they're going to talk about their experiences this summer, their experiences in New York, and also they're going to talk about their final sort of cumulative project, their final project, the creative project that the Ruin the Blooms summer internship program always ends on, kind of challenging the interns to create a final project that's an expression of the things that they've learned over the summer, but also kind of their own personal thoughts and identity. So that's what I want to point out, is that you'll see there's a few different little projects on the tables here, and then also there's a few that we'll show you behind the screen here, but then also as you come up the stairs, there's a few of the projects that these interns made over the course of the summer. So I also want to point out that this summer was a little bit different, because it was kind of an experiment in the sense that this is the first year we've had this opportunity to take the interns to New York. The last couple years, the structure of the summer internship is really a 8-week series of workshops with typically creative professionals who come in and talk about their own experiences as musicians, as photographers, as writers, poets. this summer, it's kind of changing things up a little bit, and obviously having this incredible chance to go see Cal City, New York. It still has, you know, the structure of a final creative project that the interns make in the end, but it has sort of, that is sort of sandwiched on two ends of this, you know, trip. And so at the beginning of the summer, what we did with the interns is we actually met and we kind of based the program around a specific text. In this case, the text was chosen for a couple different reasons. This text that we chose is a play called Metamorphoses, which is an adaptation of Ovid's Metamorphoses, the poem Metamorphoses, and it's a kind of a contemporary adaptation. The play it's a Tony Award-winning play. It was put on Broadway back in the early 2000s and won several Tony Awards. But it also deals with a couple things. It deals very strongly with water, and water has kind of been the thematic focus point of a lot of things happening at the Chateau this year. It has informed some of the curatorial decisions in terms of artists that have been brought into the gallery space at the Chateau. And it's informed also quite a bit of the programming that's happening at the Chateau this year. And it's something that's very universally, you know, part of human experience, and that's kind of what humanities is all about, is, you know, shared human experiences and how we understand those things. So the interns all gathered, we read this play, they each read different characters from the play, and then we talked about the play, and we talked about what these myths mean, we talked about different aspects of water and what that means to us. And that was kind of the launching point then for them, you know, taking that information, they began to sort of think about what they wanted to do for their creative projects. And then they brought all of that with them to New York, and they were able to kind of reflect on that during their time in New York. And then coming back, that's when they really were able to kind of hunker down and focus on making these beautiful creative projects that they've done. So I'm now gonna step aside and let each of them you know, say a few words about their creative projects. We're actually gonna start off with Ruthie, and Ruthie couldn't be here today. She went on the trip, but she couldn't come to the Brown Bright lunch. So
You know what, we're gonna skip Ruthie.
Okay.
We're running out of stuff.
Okay.
But her project is here,
Okay.
and we can point it out.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions about Ruthie's project, we were gonna have Christine say a few words about Ruthie's project, but we can answer some of that later. We'll start and we'll jump right into the.
And we've got about 30 minutes left. If you go over, it's no
just
big
enough
deal.
time. We'll wait if Ruthie.
If you go
we
over,
have
it's
time
not,
to
yeah.
answer it.
Yeah, don't let us constrain you.
Well, then, yeah, and if we have time, maybe we can do Ruthie's, but we'll start off with Cassidy. So we'll introduce Cassidy.
Wait, nice one.
So this is Ruthie and her project. And this is my project. So my name is Cassidy, and I was one of the interns that did go to New York. And I'm 17 years old, and I have never left my parents' side for longer than a week until this summer when with the Clark Chateau I traveled to New York, which is a world away from home. And being in New York was a fantastic experience, and one I'm still having trouble even believing. It was fantastic, not because I finally got to see the Statue of Liberty or anything. It was fantastic because neither the city nor the world are the way you see them from home. In New York, I saw amazing things such as famous paintings, artifacts from ancient Egypt, huge monuments, and small moments, and it all made me cry. New York is home to many a museum, and those were definitely my favorite part of the trip because I experienced the world through its art, its animals, and its religion via the Metropolitan Museum, the American Museum of Natural History, and the museum at Eldridge Street. My favorite day was the day we visited the museum at Eldridge Street, the Irish Hunger Memorial, and the 9/11 Memorial, because I was seeing other people's lives, and I was living in history in places I cannot ever truly go to, and in instances I can only witness through stories. I was an immigrant whose only beautiful possession was my religion. I was in the Irish countryside. I was in New York. It is very difficult to describe what I felt at these places because the emotions surpassed any one title. I can call them one thing though, inspiring. This year, for my final project, which is behind this screen right now, I chose to present 3 water goddesses through collages and altars. I studied their stories and the cultures that worshipped them, and my work presents these to my audience. I hope to connect my audience with these goddesses and cultures that they may not know much about. I also hope to emphasize the goddesses' femininity and power as well as their relationship to water. I have been with the chateau for 3 years now, and the internship to me represents family. This year I traveled far and wide with that family, and I discovered so much about the world and myself. My project presents some aspects of these discoveries, and the other interns' projects present their own changes as well. The New York trip and the chateau have both changed me immensely, and therefore I can only say that that is what they represent to me, and I am happy for it. With that, I will introduce Natalie.
Okay. Hi, I'm Natalie, and I'm an intern at the Chateau. As you know by now, we recently went on a trip to New York that impacted all of us greatly. So today, I'm going to be sharing my experience and what it meant. Being in New York was incredible. The group did so many things that not many people get to experience in their life, and it's so hard to choose one moment that was my favorite. I did love the museums and history, however, my favorite part was just being there. Seeing all of the different people living their everyday lives. The murals brought life to the city blocks, the little things like food trucks and city lights at night, all of the families on the subway and at the park, watching people jet off to work. It was peaceful in a way, looking around at so many people knowing this is their little world they call home. As you are aware, our theme is water. So I decided to write some poems about water to describe how it affects us, our world, and its beauty. Short poems. This book is a collection of short poems I wrote with many big words and illustrations in watercolor that are inspired by pictures I created as a kid. Trying to capture the feeling of beauty, the feeling and beauty of water is difficult, but I think I summed it up in an elegant manner. This experience I will always treasure. I got to see one of the most amazing, inspirational people I ever met, Allison Stratton, and I did it with the people I love. The Chateau has always been like a second home to me, and we are a family that loves and supports each other. New York inspired me again to write and open my eyes to all the amazing activities. This trip was truly a blessing and unforgettable. Thank you to everyone who helped make this a reality, and to my little family, I love you very dearly, hoping for more amazing opportunities like this in the future. What did I do?
You're fine. There you go.
I've been asked to read one of my poems from the book. So I'm going to read, there's 10 in the book, and this is the last one. And you can come up and see it if you are interested. So this one is inspired by someone who is afraid of water, and they're trying to come to terms with their fear. Cleanse me, take away my fear. I thought to myself as I watched the ocean waves become massive, for the salty air burns my nose, trembling limbs. Who knows what could be out there? The bones of millions, the sailors and the curious. For I was never one of them, always mocked for not being daring. Yet this fear is crushing my soul. How do I relieve myself? Do I take the plunge into its mysterious depths, or stay safe upon the shore where I never leave? Can I find a way to explore my nightmare and still be guarded from the evil? For the people surrounding me see this great abstract beauty, while I see darkness, the ominous. So I will stay dry. More importantly, I will stay safe, trying to find an alternative that doesn't risk it all. I'm gonna pass it on to Miss Claire over here. Take it away.
Alright, so my name is Claire Sweet, I'm 15, and this is actually my first year up at the Chateau as an intern. I didn't get to go on the trip to New York, unfortunately, but honestly, I'm sure it was a great experience for everyone else, and I'm glad that people could actually go and experience this interesting opportunity. And my project was essentially a story. And myths and urban legends have always been really interesting to me, and water itself has always felt like quite the enigma to me.
Could you stand in front of the podium?
Yeah.
I can't see you behind there.
And a lot of, in my project basically combines both storytelling and illustration to like really bring to life this myth about this creature, and the creature that this project is about is known as a kappa, and they originated from Japanese folklore and have been very impactful to Asian culture since their inception. They are amphibious, living both in the water and on land. They are known for being very mischievous, clever, and intelligent. When captured, they'll try to bargain for their freedom by offering to heal people or share their natural remedies, since they have an extensive knowledge of medicine. As magical and useful as they can be, they are also very dangerous and should be avoided. Legend has it that they are prone to tricking, attacking, and even eating humans. The centerpiece for this project was definitely the illustrations. I needed to imagine the relationship and interaction between the hunter and the kappa in the story. Showing the progression of events was also very important, from the beginning, from when the kappa is captured to its escape towards the story's end. Most importantly, I wanted to truly bring to life the characters through my art. What I enjoyed most about this project was definitely interpreting this myth in my own way. And storytelling is just a generally really big passion of mine, and I really did appreciate, getting to do a project like this. It helped me learn a lot about, mythology and just the subject in general, and I had to do a lot of research, which was also a very long and very interesting process nonetheless, and it helped me just learn a lot in general, and overall I had a lot of fun working on this, and I do hope to make more like this in the future. And
So my name is Caitlin Allison, and I've been part of an internship for 3 years at Clark Chateau, and it has been one of the best experiences of my life, something that I'm so proud to be a part of, and going on this trip with my family was an even more amazing experience. I was so lucky to be able to be with you guys on this trip, and very excited to come back and talk about it to everyone. So my friends and I were very privileged to go on this trip. And we shared and learned so much about each other and grew even closer than I thought was possible. My favorite thing that stood out on the trip to me was the Natural History Museum. I love the lifelike exhibits and the abundance of information about topics I've loved since I was a little girl. Space, dinosaurs, ancient peoples, microscopic matter that is so much more prevalent in our day-to-day lives than we will ever realize. And I could barely contain my excitement for the amount of information that stood all around me, and I felt like a little kid again, filled with wonder and amazement. My project was heavily inspired by the ocean exhibits at the Natural History Museum, like the picture that Christine showed you with the blue whale. So I just loved looking into those cases that were filled with water and motion and creatures, but were actually not moving at all. I thought that was very, very interesting. So I wanted to portray that on a canvas while relating back to water with my project. And so I did a paint pouring project that is in the hallway there, where you take acrylic paint and flip it upside down on a canvas and it creates some pretty amazing paintings. I wanted to portray the same movement while relating it back to water, and I wanted to capture the fluidity of the bodies of water. I hope my writing pieces that I included with a couple of those canvases would help onlookers of the canvases see what I saw in the Natural History Museum and be filled with the same amazement. New York was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me, and being surrounded the whole trip by people I love and respect so greatly made me that much more fortunate.
Sorry, getting out of there was a little bit. Hi, I'm Vivian Anderson. I'm obviously one of the interns who got to go on the fabulous New York trip. And I just wanted to share with you guys my experience with that. So it began at very early 2:30 in the morning. Very, very early. And then another hour and a half drive to the airport, which that beautiful picture at the beginning of our plane, just fantastic. So that day was spent mostly just traveling, walking, planes, cars, and then finally into our lovely apartment that we stayed in, and yeah, just mostly traveled and rested that day. But then we get to the fabulous parts, which was all the museums that you've heard everyone talk about, the botanical gardens, the Seaport Museum. It was just all such a fascinating experience, and I will definitely never ever forget that, because it just touched me so deeply. And I actually want to share with you the one thing out of many that I decided to pick that touched me so deeply, and that was, much like Cassidy's, we visited the Eldridge Museum, which was one of the most famous synagogues and still functions as a synagogue today, and just hearing the plight of the Jewish people and everything that they went through just to live their everyday lives and to be able to practice their religion, coming here to America to exercise that freedom, and, you know, just seeing them persevere through everything that they've been given in life just really touched me. And I, right in the middle of the tour that Miss Nelson Stratton gave us, I cried. And actually had to leave the tour just so everyone could continue on and listen to the talking, because I cried a lot. But to pivot back to, speaking of water, crying, we're tying it all back in. I did my project on the goddess Aphrodite, who, if you guys didn't know, her tie back to water was that she was born from sea foam. And I chose to do Aphrodite because I wanted to embody beauty and love. And sadly, which is not down on my little board down there, my little mural down there, it was supposed to depict different women from different countries and societies all over the world. And I was going to stick them right next to the goddess Aphrodite, because she is the Western ideal of perfection. She's the goddess of love, beauty, and she is, in theory, the perfect woman. So I thought to put different women from around the countries, different women from around the world, and to depict them next to what we consider perfect. To just not focus on the inner beauty, but to focus on the beauty in different accomplishments that, you know, women can make, like science and, you know, just everything that they're capable of. So I wanted to stick them up there, but sadly didn't have the time. But I did want to focus on, you know, the beauty aspect and the love aspect. So I just talked about the beauty. Now the love aspect is, I made this project with people I love, with our little family that we have here. I made it in the little workshop that we have at the Clark Chateau. And so I, you know, spent many, many hours with hot glue and paint and just a whole lot. But the experience was made 10 times better with, you know, making it with the people I love. And I think that's what we should focus Because in today's society, I feel like we focus a little too much on the romantic love and not too much on the love that we feel with just being alive and experiencing life itself. And, you know, experiencing those things with people that we love. So, I believe I am the last. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for coming. We have 10 minutes left, and we would be happy to entertain questions across the board about the trip, or Ruth with Loom, or the internship program that Colin's running. Yes?
What grade level are these interns?
These interns are high school, and you guys range from 10th to senior.
Are these pieces going to be on exhibit at the chateau?
They are.
They are. How
So
long?
they're up now, and we brought them here today for you guys. We'll take them back, and they'll be up for the rest of the summer.
Good.
So, yes.
Yeah, how did you guys handle the humidity from Butte, Montana?
We did it.
How did you guys feel about that?
We didn't.